Said happy Friday. We wanted to welcome you to our monthly NOONtrition. This week is one of many. This is one of many events that we've had this week for our National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. So we're excited to wrap up the week with our NOONtrition in partnership with Basic Needs, Health Education and Promotion, and Housing and Residential Life. The food demos provide monthly healthy, easy, affordable meals and snacks. So today we are excited to have a College Corps volunteer, Nina, with us. Nina, thank you so much for being here and to demonstrate this recipe. So without further ado, I will turn the demo over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nina. Like Zach said, I work with Basic Needs through the College Corps program here at Sand State. I am super excited to do this recipe. I love soup. And so we're just gonna go ahead and jump right in it because it's cold outside. Let's have a warm bowl of soup. So first of all, you're gonna wanna wash your hands. Definitely hygiene, safety is important. Then what I like to do before I start any recipe is actually put my recipe up where I can see it and read it. That way, as your ingredients are kind of cooking, you don't have to like pull it up on your phone or your computer or open your cookbook or whatever method you're using. But if you like print it out, write it out, and put it up somewhere, you can just refer to it and makes it easier. All right, so for this recipe, it's super simple. All you need is a pot like this one, something to stir your soup with, and then a chopping board and a sharp knife, and that's it. I would recommend before you start the actual soup making process that you pre-chop all of your ingredients. That way you're not trying to hurry and chop something as it's needed. You can kind of just like smoothly go through the process. Another thing I would recommend is getting all of your ingredients out and like within arm's reach, especially with soup. That way you can kind of pop everything in as you need it. All right, so the first step to this recipe is butter. And you're gonna get butter and you're gonna warm it up in the bottom of your pot until it melts, which I already have my butter in my pot. And then you're gonna take your onion, half an onion, and chop it. And the general rule with soups is the smaller you chop something, the faster it's gonna cook for you. So if you chop them pretty fine, then you won't be waiting forever for it to cook. So my butter is melted. I'm gonna go ahead and put my onion in here. And then you're gonna give it a stir and get all the onions coated in the butter. And then there we go. So as the onions cook, they're gonna become like translucent and soft. And then later on when the soup is done, you're hardly gonna even know that they're there. So while that gets cooking, let's talk about potatoes. So for this recipe, it's called for russet potatoes, but really you can use any potatoes that you want. If you do, you can leave the skin on. I didn't do that, I peeled them. But if you use a different potato, like a yellow potato, golden potato, those kinds of potatoes, the skin's gonna be a little bit softer, so you can totally just chop them and throw them in. Again, the same rule applies. The smaller you chop something, the faster it's gonna cook, especially in a recipe like this. So I chopped them up pretty small. That way when we get to the stage that we need them, you know, they'll cook a little bit faster. And then another tip that you can use is if you're in like a hurry, you can pre-chop your vegetables and store them in the fridge. A lot of people don't know that you can pre-chop potatoes and you can leave them in water, cold water, for up to 24 hours. So if you're into like meal prepping, or if you know you're gonna have a super crazy busy night, you can pre-chop your potatoes, leave them in the fridge in cold water, covered, and then when it's time, you drain them and then you can use them in your recipe. So right now we're waiting for the onions to kind of get a little bit soft and like translucent. And then once they cook down a little bit more, we're gonna add the flour. And what we're gonna do basically is make something called a roux. And it's really traditional in any type of creamy soup to do a roux as the base because it acts as a thickener. So flour plus any type of fat, mostly butter, sometimes oil, sometimes like drippings from like bacon or sausage can be used. And you're gonna mix the fat and the flour together in the bottom of your pot. And it's gonna form like a paste, and then it's gonna like soften and kind of simmer for a second. Then after that step, when you add your liquid will then thicken like naturally after you add the roux. So I'm hearing the onions kind of start to sizzle and get a little bit softer. It smells really, really good. This recipe, I mean, any soup recipe is super customizable. This recipe doesn't call for garlic, but if you like garlic, you can add that in with the onions at the end. And then you can play around with seasonings, you know, whatever your taste like. If you like it a little spicy, you can add a little bit of cayenne, whatever you want, you know, your soup to be like. Those just need about another minute. I was super excited to host this recipe because I love soup. I make soup for any, you know, hosting occasion. You can make soup and throw it, you know, in a slow cooker. Type in the chat what your favorite soup is. I like anything from like chicken tortilla to potato soup, or even something like pozole or like Korean hot pot. I love all different types of soup. So let me know what yours is. Okay. So what you can't see in my pot is that the onions are getting a little brown. That is okay. You want them to kind of like caramelize and get a lot of flavor. Almost there. Let me see. Oh, butternut squash soup. That one's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. So at this point, my onions are pretty cooked down. I'm going to go ahead and add, oh, menudo, Vivian. It's got to be good menudo though. It's got to be from a good place. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my 1/4 cup of flour. Now, if you ever have to make a roux for another recipe, it's generally 50-50. So if you do like a 1/4 cup of butter, you're going to do a 1/4 cup of flour. It's equal parts. So I'm going to add this in there. And you're just going to want to stir gently until it makes like a paste. And then it's going to simmer down back into like a liquidy form. It sounds a lot more intimidating than it is. It's really just mixing butter and flour together in the bottom of a pot. Okay. And you're going to want that to cook for like 1 to 2 minutes so that the flour gets cooked, because you can't eat raw flour. You're going to want to keep stirring it so that it doesn't burn in the bottom. Okay. This is also a great time to add your seasonings, but if you forget to add them here, as long as you get them in at some point and give the soup some time to like marry all the ingredients, you'll be okay. Soup is very forgiving. So we're gonna go ahead and add our seasonings as well. This calls for a pinch of paprika. So I mean, that's really just, you know, as little or as much as you feel. Measure that with your heart. Okay. And then some salt and pepper. smelling really, really, really good. Okay, we're gonna mix all of our seasonings in. Okay. A little bit more. So now our soup is ready for liquids. This soup calls for chicken broth and milk. I would add, or I'm sorry, not chicken broth, vegetable broth. I would add the broth first in little bits. And as you add it, kind of give it a stir to incorporate the broth into the roux that you just made in the bottom of the pot. And you'll see that as you add it, it like immediately starts to thicken. And that's what we want with this soup. Now, adding in cold liquid is going to bring down the temperature of your pot. So if you're in a hurry, you can even like pop the vegetable broth in like a measuring cup and put it in the microwave and warm it up a little bit. Then it'll incorporate faster. You could also bump the heat up on your pot a little bit to kind of make up for the cold liquid going into the roux, and that's what I'm going to do. You just want to stir it in a little bit at a time. That way it doesn't get like lumpy. It's nice and smooth. Okay, we're about halfway there. Okay, let's turn this up a little bit more. Once your vegetable stock is added and you've got it all nice and mixed in, you can go ahead and add your milk. Mix that in, and then you're gonna wanna add, so this is a good time to add your potatoes as well. And you're just gonna boil them until the potatoes get soft. That's why the smaller that you chop them, the faster that they cook. And then if you chop them in bigger chunks, it'll take a little bit longer. Just carefully add those to your liquid that's already in your pot. Ooh. Okay. Well, we have the potatoes in for the potato broccoli soup, so we're doing pretty good. I'm gonna give it a stir. And I'm gonna turn up the heat so that they come to a boil. Okay, so while we're waiting for our potatoes to like heat up and come to a boil, I thought it'd be a really good time to talk about making some swaps to the ingredients of the soup. So this soup is naturally vegetarian already, but if you're vegan, there's 3 easy swaps that you can make that will make this vegan friendly. And that's the 3 dairy items, which are butter, cheese, and milk. You can easily swap butter out for oil or for vegan butter. And then for the cheese, you can substitute it for vegan cheese, or you can do a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, which has like a cheesy flavor. And then for the milk, you can substitute out another dairy-free milk, or you can do like cashew cream or coconut cream. totally up to you, your preference, then that would make this vegan as well. Give it a stir. And one more note on the recipe. So I already have the broccoli here chopped off the stalk. You're gonna wanna take that stalk of broccoli that you got and chop it to where it's just the florets, just the little top part of the broccoli. And again, same rule applies. The smaller you chop them, the faster they'll cook. For broccoli, I left them a little bit on the, like a medium size, because it will kind of fall apart as it gets cooked. And then also for the broccoli, on the recipe card, it says to steam it ahead of time and then add it at the last second. Since I didn't get a chance to steam it ahead of time, we're gonna add it into the pot. And you can boil broccoli for about 2 to 3 minutes and it'll become soft. So it'll be the same as if you had steamed it ahead of time. So again, if you're in a time crunch mode and you don't have time to like pre-steam it, you can just pop it in the pot 2 to 3 minutes and it'll get soft. Okay. The soup is almost to boiling. Once it boils and those potatoes get soft, then we can add in our broccoli and our cheese. Okay, as far as soups go, a roux is gonna get you pretty much any soup recipe that has like a creamy base or has dairy products in it. You would start with the roux. It's starting to bubble. You can see little bubbles around the edges. And it smells so good. I always like to have all my ingredients out within arm's reach. That way I'm not running around trying to find them in the fridge at the last minute. So I've got the cheese here, got the broccoli. Those are the last 2 ingredients really for our soup. Super simple soup. You could throw it together in like 20 to 30 minutes. And then you could always top it with more cheese or sour cream, or vegan sour cream if you are making this vegan version of this. Or you can also add, chicken to it if you wanted to add more protein. Okay. And then you could also cover your soup, which I'm gonna do. That will make it come to pressure faster and the potatoes will cook faster as well. I want to see what some of the favorite soups were. Let's see. Oh, chicken noodle. That's a classic. Menudo pozole. Those are all good options. I don't really have a favorite. I love soup. Any soup, really. Soup is probably my comfort food. Okay. Also, while your stuff is boiling, while you're waiting for your potatoes to boil, it's a good time you could do some kitchen cleanup. That way you don't have to clean up at the end. Just gonna move all of my dirty stuff out of the way. That way you have a nice clean workspace. Okay, turn my pot up a little bit, kind of eyeball it, make sure. And then once the potatoes start boiling, you can just check them with the fork to see if they're soft enough to your liking. You could also, to make it a little bit thicker, you can take some of the potatoes out and mush them or put them in a blender and then add them back. It'll make your soup richer and creamier. Okay, it's boiling now. I'm gonna go ahead and add the broccoli and the cheese to the recipe. And then after you add the broccoli and the cheese, it's only going to boil for another maybe minute or two as those ingredients incorporate. And then after that, you are ready to serve. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Friday. Happy Friday. And I hope everybody enjoys their fall break.
Thank you so much. I am super excited for soup season. I love the cold and hot soup with some grilled cheese. So thank you for hosting that demo, Nina. If you're interested in sharing your selfie of your dish that you cooked with us at the demo, please find our tags in the chat, and you can hashtag NOONtrition with the selfie of your food. We also have a brief survey that we asked you to complete. It will be in the chat as well. Just give us some feedback on your thoughts on the recipe or the NOONtrition demo in general. And our next food demo will be on December 9th at 12 p.m. You're also invited to go visit Our Basic Needs website, where you can find previous and current NOONtrition recipes and recordings. And once again, thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend.